This is a Ben Frank Connection presentation.
What's going on?
Hey, what's up? Welcome to another brand new episode of Wrestling with Life.
Yep.
I'm your host, Ralph.
I'm your other host, Parma.
Back together again with
Back from the grave.
Parmesan. Yeah, he had a little sea vacation. As of this recording, he had a little sea vacation on the Jericho cruise. So this is getting back in the saddle again. And what a way to get back in the saddle.
Right.
We have a very special guest today. You may recognize him. You may know him as a Loud Noxious or Gavin Loudspeaker, but these days we just call him Jack the Ring Announcer. What's going on, buddy?
What's up,
Doing
man?
good, guys.
So good to have you
here. Great to see you both here, and also Ben Franklin / Heyman down there, like
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Ben
our network.
Franklin dangerously.
Yeah, that's our network. That's our network logo, the BFC. Ben Frank Connect.
I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
He's hardcore.
Yeah.
We try.
That's what we do, man.
I originally had tried to do a AI photo imager and combine Heyman and Ben Franklin. It didn't go out as well as I had hoped, so I just made that instead.
Yeah. Got the cool looking answer.
AI imagery isn't always what it seems, and it didn't work this time around. It didn't.
Right.
It was horrifying. I'll say it was horrifying.
That's for the best.
So,
all right.
How did you get these crazy names, Loud and Noxious and Gavin Loudspeaker?
gimmicks, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm Greek, first of all.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. My real name is Iakovos Nikiforos Durakos. So
I'm not even going to try and say that.
So, right.
Wow.
You know what I mean? When you got a name like that, you're used to like changing it. You're used to nicknames.
Right.
I feel like that's parents setting you up for disaster in kindergarten when you're learning the skill.
When the teacher, a college graduate, is taking attendance and can't pronounce your name,
right?
You know that you were being ribbed by your own
parents. What would they call you in like middle school, high school?
Jack.
Okay.
Right. So it's the Greek. You're named after your grandparents in the Greek tradition. So my grandfather's name was Iakovos, which is like Jacob. But he went. He came to America, and they're like, we're gonna call you Jack.
Right.
Jack Marmaris.
Right.
And so that became my name. And when I was little, I was Jackie.
Nice.
Very cool.
And then when I started doing Kaiju, when I did Kaiju Big Battle, I wanted a gimmick. You know what I mean? Like I didn't want to just be me.
Sure.
With Japanese monsters and all that. Like I wanted to be a character. I wanted to be something kind of, anime or, like something goofy. So I tried this sort of like Diamond Dallas Page, like I had like a fur coat.
Oh boy!
And I wanted to be. It was like Johnny Sinister or Johnny. It was something. I can't remember what it was.
Right.
Johnny Maniac. I don't know. It was something Johnny something. Right. So that was that didn't. I mean, I don't know. They kind of didn't like it. Because I wasn't gonna be like that much of a character.
Right.
I wasn't gonna be right. I was gonna just be, So I just remember because you guys are you both fans of punk, old school punk music.
Yeah.
There was a band called the Dead Boys.
Okay.
And they had an album called Young, Loud, and Snotty.
Nice.
Young, Loud, and Snotty.
Nice.
So I thought, well, how about Young, Loud, and Obnoxious? Right?
Right.
I'm pretty loud and obnoxious. So I was like, how about Young, Loud, and Obnoxious? And then that just kind of became Young, loud and noxious.
Right.
Right.
Nice.
Love it.
And
Love
and it was young, loud, and noxious until I wasn't young anymore.
Yeah.
Boy.
Didn't take long.
Just loud and noxious.
And then it just became loud and noxious. And that stuck. And that was good. Like it fit me, it fit the gimmick.
Yeah.
You know, I scream at the top of my lungs. I've always had this uncanny ability to just be have like a loud voice. I can scream really long for a long amount of time and not lose my voice.
Yeah.
It's just something I've always kind of been able to do. So so it fit, you know, loud and noxious.
Loud and noxious.
And that stuck. And then I kept that. So I was doing Chikara when I went and I started pivoting over to Chikara and using that same gimmick. And then I just remember when I was talking with those guys and they wanted their own thing, you know?
Yeah.
And because Kaiju was kind of Kaiju is very much its own world, right?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Yeah.
So they're kind of like, well, we kind of want our own guy. And I was like, I get it. You know, you guys probably want like a more just straight up ring announcer kind of guy, right? So how about I tone it down a little bit? And they're like, no, we want
more. We want
over
more.
the top. And even
yeah.
So I came up with this character, Gavin Loudspeaker.
Right.
That's great.
Who, like, in my mind was like, he was who Loud and Noxious always wanted to be.
Right.
He was the rock star. He was he was like Loud and Noxious is like me, a failed musician.
Oh,
so, you know what I mean? Always wanted to be a rock star. Always aspired to it. In his mind, like Spinal Tap, like very Spinal Tap. Like in his mind, he was.
Give yourself some credit. Jeez.
Right, you're right. I'm not a failed rock star.
There you go.
I'm a failed ring announcer.
Oh, come on.
Oh, jeez.
No, come on, man.
Oh,
No,
making it worse now. Making it worse.
No, right. So Gavin Loudspeaker was Loud and Noxious is like a rock and roll fantasy character.
Loud and Noxious on 11.
And then that's
right,
Loud and Noxious on 11.
On 11.
Exactly. The Spinal Tap reference fits perfectly.
Yep.
So that's who Gavin Loudspeaker is.
Gotcha.
So
Gavin is like, isn't that like the cool guy name?
Right, Gavin.
Like Gavin Rosdale of Bush, right?
Yeah, I mean, listen.
I remember when I was in college, like when I used to watch 120 Minutes, they used to rank the college radio rankings was called the Gavin Report. I don't know why. It was called the Gavin Report.
I remember that. Yeah.
So I was like, Gavin, that's cool. And then of course Gavin McLeod, Captain Stubing from the Love Boat.
Yes.
Everybody
Gavins.
cool. His name Gavin.
Yeah. Awesome. So were you getting into like ring announcing? Were you a fan of wrestling ahead of time and then
since I was 11?
Yeah.
Since I was 10 or 11 years old.
Long time.
Yeah, long time. I got into wrestling in a weird way. Like my family is not. My parents are Greek immigrants, so I was never raised in like no one in my family really watched wrestling.
Sure.
But I used to have like some Greek American children. I was forced to go to Greek school.
Right.
Yeah.
Which if you know, you know. On Saturday, and Greek school was unfortunately on Saturday morning. Right?
That's not cool.
Like the cartoons,
Not cool at
and
all.
I was, and
all the good stuff.
And I'm
all
like, I'm Mr. Saturday Morning cartoons.
Right.
Yeah.
Who isn't? Who wasn't?
Right. Like you know what I mean? Like I have a side note. I have an Instagram account. It's called Serial Killing It.
Oh, that's
I
great.
love that.
And if anyone out there is interested, it's called Serial Killing It. Every single Saturday morning, I live stream.
Nice.
That's amazing.
I do a live stream. I watch.
Awesome.
I watch a Saturday morning cartoon. I eat a bowl of cereal.
I love it.
Great.
That's
because I
perfect.
mean, if it's not like if you're not watching a cartoon on Saturday morning and eating a bowl of cereal,
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
is it even Saturday? How do you even know?
Is it even
morning?
Saturday?
Right? Do you even know what day it is? Like
Exactly.
the end of the week.
What were some of your favorite cartoons growing up? Saturdays?
My favorites were any cartoon that had a band.
Okay.
Oh,
Or like
okay.
the Chipmunks,
Nice.
or Fat Albert, or
Oh yeah.
the kids. There was a show called the Kids Super Power Hour with Shazam,
Oh yeah.
and it was like these
Wow.
Right,
superheroes,
yeah.
and they were in a band. Josie and the
Yeah.
Pussycats,
Mhm.
Jabberjaw, of course, Muppet Babies.
Right.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Animal is who I am. Like
Yeah.
Animal is my spirit Muppet. Like,
Yeah.
that's who I am.
That's
you know?
awesome.
So anything that had like there was this cartoon called Kid Video. Do you remember Kid Video?
Oh, I don't remember Kid
It
Video.
was only on for like
Oh.
one season,
I don't know.
and it was really like at the height of MTV,
Okay.
Okay.
and they were a band, and they got sucked into this cartoon world. And
Wow.
they had this like little fairy. She was kind of like Tinkerbell.
Yeah,
But
okay.
she looked like she was in Flashdance. Like she had leg warmers.
Oh right.
Right.
And then they would do, but they were like a real band.
Right.
So like at the end of
Yeah.
the show, there would be a real music video.
Oh,
that's
wow.
cool.
I mean, like
That's-
real
yeah.
band, and
Yeah,
then they
that's
would
cool.
like play a music
Yeah.
video at the end. And one of them was the actor Robbie Wrist, who you might remember as Oliver from the Brady Bunch.
Oh, wow.
He went on
Jeez.
to become a real rock star,
Wow, that's
like
crazy.
like a real musician.
That's
Speaking of,
crazy.
I just found out today, and this blew my mind because did you ever watch Salute Your Shorts? You know the show Salute Your Shorts?
I've
Camp
heard of it.
Anawana on
Don't know
Nickelodeon.
that
I've
one.
heard of it.
I don't know
Oh,
that one.
jeez. You need.
I haven't
need,
seen Nickelodeon since you can't do that on television.
You need. Oh, you need to look up that show. That's a good one. But
Okay.
moot point. All right, moving on.
Moving on.
So Saturday morning cartoons. That's incredible. The Saturday morning cartoons.
How did we get on to Saturday morning cartoons?
I don't know.
Because of your
What do you remember
show.
how we did that.
Because of
Yeah,
because of your
well,
live
Right,
stream.
Serial Killing It.
Yes,
Yeah, because your
serial
live
killing.
stream. Your
Right.
Your
That's
Instagram.
amazing. Yeah.
Oh, right. Oh, Greek school. That's
Greek
that was
school.
it.
Back to Greek. All right.
So right. So
circle.
by the time
Back to
I
Greek
got
school.
home from Greek school,
Yes.
the cartoons were over.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
only thing that was on was like Soul Train
Yeah.
and like
man.
Hee Haw.
No.
And I would just be like, and it was, when back before the days of cable, you would just leave the TV on. And
Right,
I would
yeah.
just leave the TV on.
Yep.
And eventually wrestling would come on,
You're right.
Uh-huh.
after Soul Train, after Hee Haw.
Mhm.
Wow, Soul Train and Hee Haw.
Soul Train and Hee Haw, man.
The end of the spectrum there.
That's like, yeah, you're living the dream there.
And then you go
Delicious.
to pro wrestling, and
Right.
Yeah.
it was just on. And at first, I was just kind of like, sometimes it would catch my attention.
Right.
The matches were really boring. It would just be Greg the Hammer Valentine in a headlock for 10 minutes.
Right.
So the matches were, but then the promos would come on. The promos with Mean Gene,
Yeah.
that would kind of get my attention, and I
Right.
would turn my head.
Mhm.
And I would just kind of like, sometimes I'd be like, oh, well, this is kind of silly. And then eventually, what really grabbed my attention was when they attacked Andre the Giant and cut his hair.
Oh,
yeah.
Right Andre the Giant's
great
hair.
Right.
That's when I was like,
Yeah.
all right, well, this is real. Because you don't cut someone's hair, that you can't fake cut someone's hair.
Yeah.
Right.
So that was crazy. I ran downstairs. I told my parents. I was like, they're cutting a guy's hair on television. I'm like, Jack, it's not, calm down. It's okay. Like,
Calm
it'll
down,
be
buddy.
okay, little Jack. It'll be okay.
it'll be okay. They would say that in Greek, but and then eventually, like, I discovered Rowdy Piper. Once I discovered
There you
Rowdy
go.
Piper, wrestling became a weekly thing for me.
Oh yeah.
And then
Mhm.
I was still 11, 12.
Mm.
And then the three things, if you want to hook them young, if you want to grab them young and keep them for the
Here it
rest of your
comes.
life,
Here
the
it comes.
three things that
Write
grabbed
these
me
down.
and made me a wrestling fan were
Take notes.
the wrestling album, the album
Oh
that came out,
yes.
the music,
Mhm.
the na 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 na.
Yeah.
Okay, that. It was complete with like Cyndi Lauper and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Hulk Hogan's Rock and Wrestling cartoon,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, of
again,
course.
which had a band in it, right?
Yeah.
And then the action figures, the LJN big rubber guys.
Yep. Yep.
That's it. Those are the three
That's
things.
it.
Once you
That's
do
it.
those three,
That's it.
it's like you've hooked them for life. It's like Ronald
That's right.
McDonald.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
That's all you need. That's too funny. So you are not just an announcer. You are a man of many things. You have done many things. You are a musician. You are some acting in there a little bit.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yep.
know you do some comic book art.
Yep.
How did you get into all these different things and just kind of like you kind of like dispersed yourself out there into the world of like media and stuff?
Well, it's like I don't know. It's like when you're young, it's like you have all these things you want to do, and you kind of want to stick. You want to put your hand in all these different cookie jars, and you're all excited. And then when you get older, you realize, man, I should have just stuck with one thing.
Right.
Because then maybe like by now I'd have something to show for it.
Right.
But it's all those things are just sort of parts of my life that just come out. My father's an artist, so I've always drawn.
Oh, okay.
So ever since I was little, like so I've always drawing cartoons and Saturday morning cartoons, of course. Everything else, like I'm just superheroes, Marvel. Just always loved. I've always loved old cartoons. Like when I was a kid, I've always liked. Like I always wanted to buy those big books that had like the old comic strips.
Yeah.
From like the 30s and 40s and 50s. Like those were the best comic strips. And as a kid, I loved that stuff. And I would draw that, try to draw that stuff, try to draw my own comic strips.
Right.
That was always something I was interested in. I didn't get into acting until I was about maybe 10 or 11. And then, I started doing some community theater.
Sure.
I learned that, my hyperactivity had an outlet.
Right.
As soon as I started getting like rewarded for being, a big ham instead of being told to sit down and shut up.
Right.
I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm going to be on a stage forever.
Yeah.
Because now I'm getting, I'm getting applause. So then I started doing acting, and then singing is always another one. I have a musical fan. My mom's the choir, and
sure.
So
Cool.
So singing was always something else that I was always doing too. And then of course you get into high school, you get into rock and roll, and when I went to college, I went to college for acting also, and so I really, really, really started getting I got deep into music and the world of rock and roll, and I saw every band that I went to New York University, so I was right in the middle of New York City. Every single band
in the hot spot.
In the hot spot in the early '90s, every single band came from New York. I saw everybody. I saw Nirvana twice.
Ooh.
So I was
awesome.
super lucky. And then eventually I was just like, this is what I want to do. I want to do this.
Yeah.
Right. Who are some of your favorite bands growing up?
Well, growing up, I liked Duran Duran and
Nice.
I liked Loverboy.
Nice.
I liked the Police. I liked the Pretenders. Yeah.
That's some good
Def Leppard. Def Leppard was a big one.
Come on. That's there you go.
Yeah,
right?
Classic.
The wrestling album was huge for me. I loved the wrestling album. There's so many good songs on that record.
No,
that was a really good record.
That was a really good record.
It was.
Grab
really
them cakes.
Grab Them Cakes is a great song.
It's amazing.
I don't know if it would fly in 2024.
No,
Probably
but it gets
Probably
stuck in my head every now and
but
then.
it's very good. It's very good.
Yeah.
Jimmy Hart was such a good singer.
Oh, Jimmy Hart was amazing.
He was.
Jimmy Hart was really was not only an announcer or like a manager, but he was also pretty good in the music realm too.
He was a legit singer and songwriter.
Have you ever heard the story about Jimmy Hart and Shawn Michaels theme song? I heard this within the last couple months.
The Sexy Boy song?
Yes. So everybody at the beginning, everybody kind of assumed that was like Sherry in the background with the background vocals.
Oh, right.
Here it was not Sherry. What happened was they had a really tight deadline to get this thing recorded, and his backup singer canceled on him, and he had no time to find anybody else. So that's actually Jimmy Hart singing, and they tuned it up. I heard Jimmy Hart. I believe Jimmy Hart told that story on It Was Busted Open. He told that story because it was. That's actually
the age
him
of
on
truth.
The truth shall set you free, sir.
But that just shows you what
but then didn't Sean eventually sing it.
Well, he sings
it's-
the main part, but
He sings
like
the main vocals.
Just that
but-
gravelly,
the
like
background,
just
like
kinda
that.
talking, like,
Sexy boy.
Yeah,
in
yeah,
the
that part.
background.
that
Oh,
part's
yeah,
Jimmy.
he's-
Oh, yeah, that part's Jimmy
Yeah.
Hart.
But that in the background singing. Like
there are the girls at the beginning. They're like, "Oh, Sean."
Right.
Yeah, that's
I
him
know
too.
that.
That's
Wow,
him too.
that's crazy. That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
Oh,
Fun
and
fact-
dude, I know. Honestly, entrance music was a big thing.
Oh,
That's
dude,
a
I
big
used to-
reason
I used
why
to
I like wrestling.
Avidly collect
Yeah.
themes. I would
Jim-
have CDs upon CDs of themes. Me and my brother just used to play them with like our figures, and like we have like the ramp and the ring. We would burn CDs. That way we would have everybody's theme ready, so we can just play it and have them walk out in the ring.
And then, well, eventually they came out with the CDs.
Yeah, yeah.
With
Yeah.
the entrance music, which was great
Back
because
in-
Jim Johnson played such a huge role.
Yeah, he does
I
not get
still
enough
don't
credit.
understand
and
why
why-
he
and
was
how-
released.
I
don't
don't
get
know
it.
why they stopped using him, man.
It
Like he
makes
was,
no
so
sense.
good at
So
it.
good. Yeah.
He was
Legendary.
so good at capturing someone and giving them the right, like it was perfect, and like
Yeah.
Mhm.
eventually it just became everybody got like the same generic new metal
Yeah.
song,
Yeah.
and it just everybody's kind of sounds the same.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Jim Johnston is a legendary.
He's in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall.
He's not.
He's not, but he should be.
He
should be.
Well, now that now that Triple H is more in charge of those things.
I mean, not that
maybe
the Hall
will
of Fame
happen.
means.
Well, right.
like,
But
I
it's-
mean,
right.
but if anybody
still-
should go
but
in,
still,
right?
But he deserves some kind of
He
recognition for
deserves-
his
yeah.
contributions.
He's
Yeah.
made so many iconic themes like Austin's and the
Oh
Rocks
man,
Mhm.
and
everything.
Taker's,
Vader.
Vader's. He's
Yeah.
made so many people's themes,
Listen,
and all of
everybody
them were so
was-
good. Yeah.
back in the 80s, everybody was all about Real American, and when that hit and Hogan came out and everything. But for me, the real exciting entrance for me, I was always a Demolition fan, and when their music hit
Yeah.
and when they walked out,
Mhm.
like that was
Mhm.
you had no idea in the 80s as a little kid that they were a ripoff of the Road Warriors,
Right.
but they
Right.
but even knowing that now, they had such a style and presence when they walked out to that music. It
Yeah.
was just, man, it was
Mhm.
incredible.
In a
So
way, they
speaking-
were scarier than the Road Warriors.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
with the
Yeah,
mask
They
and
were
the
a
leather.
little
and-
more like.
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know what Demolition would do to you. Like,
They wouldn't do
No.
anything nice.
you know,
that's
the
for
Road
sure.
Warriors are gonna rip your head off, but Demolition might do something worse.
Might do something worse
Yeah.
than that. Right. They
Yeah.
were a little scary.
yeah, they certainly were.
Was there ever an Road Warriors versus Demolition match?
Yes.
There was.
Yeah, there was.
Yeah,
Okay.
there was.
There
Okay.
wasn't there. No, but there definitely was.
Yeah, because they didn't. I think it was.
Involved?
I think it was when Demolition was the 3-man team with Crush.
Oh,
Right.
okay.
I believe
Yes,
they had a
yes.
match around that time, but they never got the real build up in the feud that they should have had.
Right.
they
That's
should have
what I
made
was
it
getting at. Yeah.
A really big program, but they have had at least. I think there's one televised match, and there may be some house show matches they have,
Mhm.
but yeah, definitely
they-
not what it
they-
should have been.
Would have had a ridiculously awesome feud if they let that simmer.
Mhm.
Oh, I would have paid good money to see Road Warriors
Never did
versus
that
Demolition.
kind of thing. Like there was never the Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair.
Yeah, they missed out
No.
on that too.
Like,
Yeah,
they kinda
same
passed
thing.
That up too.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
should have been like a WrestleMania match,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
ended up being Flair and Macho,
Yeah.
and Hogan and
Which-
Savage. I mean Hogan and Vicious.
Yeah, that
Right.
was a sad time.
Yeah, it should have
That
been like
is-
why we didn't get the match we wanted.
No,
Why-
certainly not.
Sid Vicious, man. That's all I'm gonna say. Just
Yeah,
that's-
just Sid Vicious.
But speaking
Sid
of music,
Vicious.
you yourself have a band
Yes.
that is not failed. Oh,
Ah,
Because we're still around.
we found something.
is it Mia Mara?
It is. It's me
Okay.
and Mara.
Okay.
Let me hold on a second. Let me grab it. I'll just grab this real quick. while I'm
Okay.
right here.
Sounds good.
I'll just to it, and it's right here.
Okay.
There it is.
Oh,
Nice. Nice.
I got one too.
You are
Hey.
good. Oh, you got it. You're in the
Yeah.
You're in the club.
I don't
I know.
have one. I'm sorry. I don't have one.
Yeah, Mia Mara, and it's on everything. So if you go to Spotify, it's Mia Mara, Bandcamp,
Is it-
iTunes.
The
Is it
place
like
all
a-
the cool kids get their music.
And if you go to my Instagram, there's a link, or my if you go to my Instagram or my TikTok, there's a link which goes to all the links. So you can go to my YouTube channel, video, music videos. I've got reviews and all kinds of stuff.
Is it just like the style of like rock and roll, or is it like a different
tell us a little bit about the band.
tell us about the band.
It's like it's kind of a power pop grunge.
Oh, okay.
Kind of
Not
sound,
I thought of
right?
at all.
Yeah, so it's
Okay.
grunge. Some people call it like bubble grunge.
Okay.
Or some people call it alternative rock.
Gotcha.
In that style, right? Exactly. Very. Everybody says it's very 90s, you know. So it's very,
Right.
Oh,
very much a
okay.
product of my era.
I like
Listen,
it.
I'm down with the 90s.
Yeah, a lot of guitars.
Such
A lot of
90s
guitars.
Kid.
Yeah, you're a 90s kid.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my musically, I was a '90s kid.
Right.
Like '90s alternative is like exclusively what I listen to.
There you go.
Like it's all about '90s
It
alternative.
was
so.
great. It was
It was
a good
great.
time.
It was great music.
There were some.
Yeah.
I mean, you go back and look at the records, like you're just like, whoa, that all came out in 1993.
Right.
Oh
What?
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's
And
That's
all
wild.
those records came out in
Yeah.
93,
Yeah.
like one after the other.
Right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
90s was a crazy time for any genre, grunge, pop,
Rap.
and it was rap. Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So I see you've got a number of instruments in the background there. What all instruments do you play?
I play guitar.
Mhm.
I play the drums,
Very nice.
and my main focus. I mean, I'm a singer.
Right.
But my main focus, I really like songwriting. Like I like to
Oh,
write music.
okay.
That's cool.
What I really
Right.
like to do.
Yeah.
Like writing songs is, that's like my favorite thing to do. It's
That's
like,
awesome.
if I have my choice of what I want to do all day,
Mhm.
just write music.
music. I have these ideas.
Right.
I get ideas and I immediately kind of get them down on a recorder or on
Right.
a voice recorder.
Right.
And so now I've got this mountain of ideas. It's like a closet that if you open the door, like everything's gonna fall out.
It all
Like
spills out. Yeah.
right, it's all in there. So I'm just like I have to try to chip away at it a little bit at a time.
That's awesome.
And I'm not a
That's the-
perfectionist, you know. I don't
Right.
try to get the perfect anything. I just try to say, okay, this song is done, and then I move on to the next song.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's like me with Canva. This guy over here showed me Canva, and now I can't stop.
Yeah,
So
it's
once
yeah,
I have an idea,
it's a disease.
Once I have an idea, it has to be like written down or in
has
Canva.
to,
I have to
Mhm.
create it, whether it's good or bad. I have to at least create the idea. That way, it's out of my head.
Set it and forget it.
Yeah, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
to a point you made earlier, I got myself a podcast so I can just spend all my time on that and destroy every other dream I have. And just worry about this. Well, he was talking earlier about like having all these things and like realizing, well, maybe should have focused on one. Well, I focused on one to destroy everything.
Now everybody has to have a
Everybody has to-
podcast.
exactly.
Now everybody has to have a podcast to go along with whatever they're doing. You know,
Yeah,
right?
well,
You can't just
Right.
be
Can't
in a
just be-
band.
No.
Like, if you're
No, it
a
has to be the
singer
whole
and you've
thing.
sold 1 million records, the record label's like, well, we need you to do a podcast now.
Right,
And it has
right.
to go viral, you know.
mhm.
But so how did you come up with the idea for serial killer cartoons, or I forget what it was called?
Oh, serial killing
Just
it?
killing it.
Yes, that.
I came up with the idea when I was living in Los Angeles. Because I was really I don't know if I've ever been to Los Angeles.
I have not.
It's a really lonely, isolating place. Like,
Oh, is it?
Everything is super far apart. You
Oh.
can't really walk anywhere.
Ugh.
It's really hard.
No,
It's
good.
hard to walk
No
anywhere,
good. Mhm.
and you tend not to want to drive because A, traffic, and B, there's nowhere to park,
Right.
and
Yeah.
so just visiting friends and hanging out is really hard to do. So I just
Yeah.
found it very isolating and lonely. So I was just always finding ways to occupy myself and entertain myself. And I just I was like, well, I like, as on Saturday, I was like, well, I'm not lying when I say this. Like, I would find myself not knowing what day of the week it was. Like, I would know
Right.
I would know what day of the week it was by what podcast I was listening to.
Right.
Like, if I was
Yeah.
listening to a Monday Night Raw review, then I knew it was Tuesday.
Right.
'Cause- right? So I was sort of like, okay, well, Saturday morning, I'm gonna watch cartoons because I had become a big YouTube guy at that point. I was
Right.
always,
Mhm.
that was right when I started getting into YouTube, and
Right.
right when YouTube started recommending things. Like right when YouTube
Yeah.
started telling you what you wanted to watch.
Right.
That's it. Like,
That's it.
YouTube became my main channel. Like, I didn't watch
Right.
anything else. Like that became a main.
Right.
It's like the Jack channel.
Yeah.
And so so I was doing, so I started doing, that's where I came up with the idea of Serial Killing It. And I wasn't live streaming yet because I didn't do live streaming.
Mhm.
I was doing like Instagram stories, or I was just posting. I was
Sure.
doing it to do it for myself.
Yeah.
And then I would just post it on social media just to get a kick out of it. But now it's like I'm back. I live in Baltimore now. I'm back in
Okay.
Baltimore, and I'm
Okay.
Mhm.
so I found myself kind of wanting to do something on Saturday morning again, and missing it and wanting to get back to it. So I don't know. I think it's fun. It's a fun thing to do, and you go back and watch that stuff. I really do think there's value because
Right.
especially if you can find clips with the commercials. The commercials are really
Yes, the
what
commercials.
that's
ads-
what really takes you back.
Ads back in the day, man, we're actually a whole different breed of what ads are now. Like they were just unbelievable.
They were
So-
unreal.
growing up, I was a huge Thundercats fan.
Yes.
And they did this
Yes.
series. It was called Thundercats Ho, and it was like when all the new characters were brought in, like the people they found that survived from Thundera. And
Is this recently?
no, this was back in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
So what they did though was like if you watch it now, like in reruns and repeats, they're all kind of cut together into one big thing. But they had them in like different parts, and they would show them. It was like in prime time on like cable television. And I used to have a VHS tape of the television broadcast, and it had all the commercials and like all the local news.
Nice.
Like because it was from a station in New York, so it was all these like local news anchors like
Mhm.
cutting in with things. And
Right.
yeah, it was just insane. The commercial that was better than that was almost better than watching the Thundercats. was
Honestly,
watching the
it
commercials.
is.
honestly,
Yeah.
the ads were crazy.
I mean, just watching on all the different cereal garbage
Oh, the
Yeah.
stuff
that they
you
were
could get.
shoving down our
Yep.
throats. Like
Yep.
none of these cereals are around anymore, and
No.
maybe that's for the best. But like just like wow, just cereal after cereal after cereal, and you're just
Mhm.
like it's
they
part
wanted
of,
you
they're just like
to
it's
eat
part,
cereal.
like look, it's part of this nutritious breakfast.
right.
Right.
Look, here's toast. Here's orange juice. Here's a bowl of fruit. It's part of it.
It's one of
Yeah.
what's one of the ads was it was always part of a balanced breakfast.
Yeah, part
This
right.
part
Yeah,
of a
like-
balanced breakfast.
Yeah, it was
And this
balanced all
is a
right.
bowl of sugar that goes.
Yeah,
with
the
it.
sugar's
Right.
all right there. Yep.
Exactly. Just a bowl. Well, if you ever had, Rice Krispies, the thing is you add sugar to it, makes it a little sweeter. That's always, that was
Oh.
always the thing.
Yeah,
It was
you
because
know.
by itself was bland. It was just, rice.
You had to you had to
with cereal.
sugar up the cereals.
Yeah,
that
right,
You
were
had
not
to add the,
sugary
you
enough.
had to add the
Yeah.
sugar to add the
Yeah.
flavor to it. So that was how you did it.
So
Snap, crackle, and pop.
yeah, oh yeah,
and then also the McDonald's commercials.
Oh, of course.
yeah.
Of course.
The McDonald's commercials were basically a television show unto themselves.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, seriously, you had
With its
always-
own story,
you-
its own
story,
world,
its own
Oh,
cast
yeah.
of characters.
like this whole
yeah.
like Sid and Marty Croft,
right.
oh, it was
like,
very
Peach Puff
yeah.
and stuff. French fry creatures, and the sun talks to you, and
the
Like,
you would-
live action ads were actually horrifying.
it was pretty.
They were
I mean, what?
terrifying.
Yeah, you grab a French fry that tries to bite your finger off.
Right.
The trees came to the trees were like the
Right,
came to life.
yeah.
And do you remember all the old like play sets they had outside McDonald's
Yep,
where you
yeah,
would have like
yeah.
you would have like Mayor
They
McCheese, you would
legit
climb
had
in his body.
toys,
Yeah.
action figures,
Yeah.
a train
Yep,
set,
the whole thing.
a little McDonald's play set, so
Right.
you could feed food
Well,
to your
They had
Action
like jungle gym stuff at
Yeah.
McDonald's, and so
Yeah.
the jungle.
like
right?
they had like they had Mayor McCheese, and you would climb up in his body, and you were like inside the giant cheeseburger head. Grimace was terrifying because
oh my
Grimace
god,
was like the bottom half of Grimace, and like from the shoulders up with the hands, but in the center it was all these bars coming down. So you would like climb in like you were in jail, and then you would swing back and forth like this, and it would bounce, but you were in Grimace's stomach the whole time. You're like, yeah.
What was Grimace? I don't even.
Exactly. What was Grimace?
Who knows what Grimace?
Well, when you talk about Sid and Marty Krofft, that fits right in line with all of their craziness.
So
Yeah.
getting back into your announcing, now that we've gone on the tangents of McDonald's terrifying characters, how did you like train to be an announcer? Like where did you learn to I don't know. I mean, obviously I think being an artist had a help in that, but like how did you learn to I don't know, I guess, do you train to be an announcer?
I mean, I didn't. I watched a lot of wrestling. You know, I think what's like one time I remember someone asked Quentin Tarantino, like, did you go to film school? And he was like, and his answer was, no, I went to films.
right.
So like, I just watched a ton of wrestling and boxing, and just as a kid, and Saturday, I'm a big Saturday Night Live.
Right, there you go.
The golden era.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I've always been able to sort of pick up on things and imitate people.
Right.
So ring announcers were something I was always kind of able to do. And I guess I kind of did it with my friends, we'd joke around. And I used to play this game called Champions of the Galaxy. The Phil Singer games, right?
Yes. It was in the back of the wrestling magazine.
It was in the
On the back
that's
cover,
how I
yes.
discovered it. And I played that game from the very beginning.
Amazing.
Actually, I'm friends with Tom Philsinger.
Cool.
I used to go to the convention. I still go to the conventions. And I'm friends with everybody. Todd,
That's
who's
awesome.
who's like
really
one of the
cool.
presidents of the company. So like I've always played that. I played that game from childhood on.
Nice.
And whenever I would play it, I would do the announcing and the commentary.
Nice.
We'd make videos.
Love it.
Love
it.
My friend had one of those old school VHS
Yeah.
cameras, and we'd make those. And I was just really into I was just doing it because I was we just wanted to do it. And when I started doing kaiju, at that point I'd done a lot of acting. I'd done a lot of improv. I went to UCB. I studied improv at UCB. So so I was ready to play a role, to play this role of a ring announcer. And with kaiju, and here's where we're gonna get into training. Because training, I do not want to say for 1 second that training is not important. Training is important.
Right.
Remember that, kids. Training is important.
Yes,
training it's necessary.
Yes.
But with kaiju was kind of a more this like performance art piece, and I kind of got away with just being an improv actor. When I pivoted into Chikara, I had to become a real ring announcer. I was allowed to be goofy, and I was allowed to be a little outside the box because I was given that sort of leeway. But at that point I did have to learn how wrestling worked. Yeah. How a show worked. Yeah. The unfolding of the matches, and how you didn't say this here, you say this here. How to keep the how to engage the crowd. Yeah. How to keep their attention, when to bring them up, when to bring them back down, how to keep them from getting antsy, to try to keep everything seamless. Don't have a big gap where there's a pause. That's all stuff you learn from doing a wrestling show night after night after night for years and years and years. And I was really lucky because Chikara had the best training in the world. Like, I mean, one of the best. I'm going to say, because Mike Quackenbush had an amazing mind for wrestling. Right. Understood how it worked on a very, very intricate level. Yeah. Because he studied it, and being around all these guys who were so smart, and all these other people like Claudio Castagnoli, and Eddie Kingston, and then all the legends who came through, there was a guy named Mitch Ryder who was an old school Memphis guy.
Yeah.
You know, who he was just knew what he was doing. And Sweet and Sour, rest in peace, Sweet and Sour Larry Sweeney.
Larry Sweeney.
Mhm.
One of the greatest talents this industry has ever seen.
We always say on the show that Sweeney and Ultramantis, you put them against any other commentator booth.
They were incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely.
They-
Every
they-
time we
Amazing.
They are okay. So you know the movie The Wrestler?
Yes.
Mhm.
They are in the at the beginning of that movie The Wrestler.
Are they really?
The beginning of The Wrestler. I think I'm not sure exactly the song, but I think it's "Bang Your Head."
You're right.
I think that's the song that they
Yes,
do. And,
yes,
and there's
yeah,
and there's
it
a
is.
and there's a montage. They actually show the Phil Singer Games ad from
Oh, wow.
from Pro
Yeah.
Wrestling Illustrated. They show it for 2 seconds. There's like
Nice.
a montage of all
Nice.
this wrestling stuff, and you hear two commentators talking. That's Larry Sweeney and Ultramantis.
That's
I have
awesome.
not seen that in a while.
because
I'm gonna
awesome.
go back
right,
and
the
watch.
director
That's so cool.
That's
of
very
the
cool.
wrestler, and of course I'm blanking.
Aaron
out.
Darrenofsky.
Aronofsky.
There you
Darren
go.
Aronofsky.
Yes.
Brought them
Aaron,
up to
I-
he was in Brooklyn and he brought them up to do that.
That's
So
really
so
cool.
that's how that's how good they are. You
Yeah.
know. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Go against
Right, and,
anybody.
Ultramantis
Yeah.
again. Ultramantis Black as well. Like
is
and-
so good.
so good.
So good.
And I learned sitting beside these guys and seeing and I pick up quick because I love wrestling. I was a student, so I was watching how everything worked.
right.
And I kind of learned like when I need to shut up, when I
Yeah.
need to stop talking, what you don't say matters 100 times more than what you do say,
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah.
especially when you're the ring announcer and commentator. Like so you know I would realize like you know if like I learned real quick like when this is like in a live show when something big goes down in the ring, like an angle,
Yeah.
a beat down, you know,
Yeah.
a run in, someone comes out of the audience or whatever.
Mhm.
You know, after that happens, what you do after that is really important.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
You have to wait, like you have to stop. There has to be a pause.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a silence.
You have to let it simmer.
You have to let it. The crowd has to breathe.
Yeah.
They have to be like, "What
Yeah.
the f just happened?"
Yeah.
And then you know, and then you get it, and then you slowly you walk back in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
You're the ring announcer. You're just doing your job.
Yep.
You don't know what just happened. So you just pick up the microphone and you say, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new T-shirt for sale." Make
Right.
sure you know, because you're the ring. You're the ring announcer. You don't
Right.
know what
Right.
happened. I don't know what that was. But you don't do that. That's not what you would do.
Yeah.
That's your job.
Right. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments that was from you actually was when me and Ralph went to Steel Stacks SmackDown 2 last year. And
That was a fun show.
Oh, dude!
Mm.
It was right before Matt Mikowski's match. You came in the ring and you announced the vegan food,
Oh, yes.
and you went off a whole bunch of and every time you would mention a food, they'd be like boo every single time. So that next match with Matt Mikowski, because he's vegan, we were all chanting meat because like
It is so that moment, like we
So
can talk
good.
about that
So
and we
good.
can
It
talk
was so
about how
good.
great
I do
that
want to
was.
talk. I do
It's
want
such
to
a
talk.
great
you don't- but
moment.
if
I
you
actually
don't-
do want to talk about that.
If
There's
you
something
don't
like
see
that.
if you haven't seen that live or you haven't seen Steel Stack SmackDown
go
2,
watch it.
you have no idea
It's
how
so
quickly
good.
that crowd turned. Like
They turned so fast on
Oh,
you. You
right.
had them cheering, and as soon as you said, "Go get the vegan food," they're like, "Boo!"
Right, because that's LVAC
Right.
is
Right.
two things. It's hard. It's punk rock
right,
and it's vegan food.
vegan.
right.
Yeah.
That's LVAC. Like that's
Yeah.
what it is. And I don't
Exactly.
know why anybody thought there was going to be anything different. Like, do you
Right.
know who Ultramantis Black is?
Right,
Right. Yeah.
It's vegan food, right?
right.
So I get in the ring and I got the vegan menu and
Right.
I'm told to do this, by the way, because we're just the venue
Right.
wants to sell food.
Yeah, no,
Oh,
So
right.
I'm like, and we got there's a vegan, and then we got these there's a vegan menus, we got these lettuce wraps. Boo!
Oh, the lettuce wraps was bad.
And then I was
Lettuce
like,
wraps.
and then we got these like not so tacos. And they're like, boo, boo, boo. So then I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play with this.
Right.
And I was like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, wait a minute. Hold on. All right. So, and I was like, for all you meat lovers out there, we have a vegan meatloaf. And that's when they were about to riot at that point.
Dude, you have them in the palm of your
I gotta
hand.
turn this crowd around. I was like, I can't do this. Like, I gotta turn them around there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I was like, who's the baby face? Who's the baby face here? I was like, and there's also the bar is open. The bar is open. There's plenty of alcohol. The bar is the baby face.
And that brought it back. Yep.
It was just such a great moment for you, for the fans, which it was just great that it led it into the next match. And the next match, it was just vegans, boo, meat, yay!
It just happened to work out.
It was,
and it was only in
was
Steel
crazy.
Stacks too, because all the other
of course,
LVAC shows
of course.
Yeah, everybody
are
else
very,
is-
very, very vegan friendly, and that's
Right.
why and that's why I really love doing LVAC, because I'm not really, like I said, like I'm kind of my time in pro wrestling has kind of come to not an end, but like
Right.
you know what I mean, like I'm
Yeah,
kind of
you're-
pretty removed from it.
Yeah, you've moved on.
I
quite a
moved
bit.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But LVAC is something that is really special to me because it's really on brand for who I am. You know,
Right.
Mhm.
the indie rock, the punk,
Yeah.
National Socals and like
Yeah.
like all that crowd, like the DIY, the whole DIY aesthetic,
Yeah.
the vegan food,
Right.
Like all
Mhm.
of that fits right into who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And pro wrestling is just, I mean, I guess it's just, it's part of my DNA. It's never
Right.
going to be not like Al Pacino in The Godfather, it's like,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
never going to get completely out. You're always a little bit in it. And that's why I really love doing those shows. And I'm really glad I get to be part of it. It's special.
So
a
it's
special
interesting that you talk about like your days are kind of past. You, as far as Chikara goes, you have such an iconic voice in the world of Chikara,
Absolutely.
especially at King of Trios. And again, I think we had this conversation with someone, and I can't remember who, but they were talking about like different Chikara announcers and who you've preferred, and I've enjoyed everyone, but your voice, when I see King of Trios in my head, that's the voice I hear
Yep.
announcing King of Trios. So you definitely have a very iconic part of that. And the one question I had about that, so the main event and the whole idea of like bringing the crowd up and like just the whole thing, who came up with that? How did that idea of just like making that main event announcement extra special?
I started doing that in Kaiju, and I brought that to Chikara.
Nice.
Because
Nice.
because I wanted my own Michael Buffer
Nice.
moment. I
Mhm.
wanted he does
Yeah.
because I was really a fan of course, as everybody was, of Michael Buffer on Nitro. Was so,
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
he
Oh, of
added
course.
so
Right.
much.
Right.
And he would do
Yeah.
Hulk
Right.
Hogan's, and he would come out in the main event,
Yep.
and he would Michael Buffer had Let's Get Ready to Rumble.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I needed
Yeah.
a Let's Get Ready to Rumble. And I also especially with Kaiju, because Kaiju was kind of more goofy and chaotic. I
Oh,
really
yeah.
wanted to differentiate that, what you're seeing here is the main event. Like this
Right.
is the end. We're coming to the end of the show. This is
Yeah.
the climax. This is
Yeah.
the big match. Get excited.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I wanted something that did that. I can't say Let's Get Ready to Rumble. because I
No.
would have gotten
Right.
the crap suit out of me.
Mm.
Right.
Because Michael Buffer, I think he charges like $1 million just to
He-
use that.
Are you
He
serious?
has that trademarked in like 67 countries.
Yeah,
Right.
It's incredible.
Owns it.
Like
Um,
every
Yeah, that is his saying.
It's his
Yeah.
thing. It's his thing.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I wanted that. I wanted one of that. I wanted that for me. And the main event was the way I wanted to do it. I like making the main event a big deal. I think it's
Of course.
Mhm.
I think the workers who are working the main event deserve that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
they deserve, like, if because not, I mean, some people are in the main event all that, and like sometimes, it's you don't get to be in the main event all the time.
Right.
When you're in the main event, I
Mhm.
want you to feel special, and
Yeah.
I wanted to do that for everybody. My
Right.
goal as a ring announcer was to make every single wrestler feel special, like
Yeah.
give them an introduction that they've never had before,
Right.
Yeah.
something that really makes them
Sure.
a star, feel like a star.
Mhm.
Like when a wrestler came to Chikara, if they didn't have a super polished gimmick,
Yeah.
and didn't really know exactly what they were doing, maybe they were, and they were just kind of like kind of just a guy.
Yeah.
I would really go out of my way to try to give them something, a
Yeah.
platform to jump from, and make them feel special. I remember like I was doing a show with Chikara in Canada,
Ooh.
and I know, right?
Oh,
Canadian
wow.
crowds are rough.
wow.
Rough. They
Things
are
have turned here quickly.
brutal.
Right.
Yeah. So we had a challenge. The challenger was a guy who, for the title, who I don't think anybody really, no one I don't think really bought that he was going to win the belt.
Right.
Sure.
Right. But I gave him this intro, like when I would do the main event, I would wait till both wrestlers made their entrance, so they both
Yeah.
get in the ring,
Yeah.
and then silence, and then introduce, like a boxing match, like introduce
Right.
this guy, introduce this challenger, introduce a champion. So when I introduced the challenger, I would run down their accolades. And
Nice.
And this particular wrestler had been undefeated in Chikara. So
Okay.
I went down, I was like, this is his record. This many wins, 0 losses,
Nice.
all by submission.
Nice.
He is the like. So
Right.
after you hear that introduction, you plant that seed that
Yeah.
maybe he's got
Yeah.
a chance.
Yeah.
He might, maybe they are building up to something here, and you want to put that thought in someone's mind.
Yeah.
Very
Exactly. Have you ever taken a bump in your entire
I wrestled a
announcing
match.
career? You
I
did a
wrestled.
match?
I wrestled Tim Donst.
Oh, really? When was this?
Go watch it. It's pretty awesome. So we did a whole angle. It was the last angle before the big Chikara shutdown.
Okay.
Oh,
It was
Okay.
it was the very last show. It was June of 2013. And
Oh,
we-
the first shutdown, you mean?
Yes,
when-
the storyline shut down.
the storyline.
Right.
shut down.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
When it was at the Trocadero. We're leading up to that.
Mhm.
There was the angle was Tim Donst was bullying me. He'd been bullying me since like January, so it was like 6
Right.
months of him being,
Mhm.
and that was he was bullying everybody. It was
Yeah.
kind of big thing, and being mean to his lackeys, and
Yeah.
Mhm.
and we knew that we were going to build up to a match, which was, I was flabbergasted. I was like, I'm going to wrestle? This is
Right.
crazy.
Right.
But it was so cool, like, to train, to actually go to the Wrestle Factory and train
nice.
and learn from, people like Hallowicked
Mhm.
and, Chuck Taylor
Mhm.
and all these guys who Jigsaw and, it was just, and Tim Donst and everybody
Yeah.
else who helped train me. It was amazing. It was to learn how to take a bump was
Right.
a big deal for me,
Yeah.
And I got hurt. I got hurt. I hurt my shoulder. Like, I have a separated.
Oh,
You can
Jesus.
see that I separated my shoulder.
Oh,
Um,
jeez.
But yeah, no, it was awesome. And then and then we built up to the match, and we had the match at the Trocadero. Clotheslined the shit out of me, like, just, I blacked out.
Oh, no.
I blacked out. Like, I
Oh, no.
really
Jeez.
for
Oh, my.
a couple of seconds. But I came back. I came back
Good.
too,
Good.
which is good. And that was, I mean, that was, I don't know. At this point, that was the high point of maybe my life.
Oh yeah, I was doing the
Well,
match.
That was
he
this is pretty hot. I understand why people do it and why
Right.
wrestlers can't give it up. I
Yeah.
at that once I did that, once I got in the ring and did that, it made perfect sense to me. I'm like, I understand why they do this.
Right.
See, I think you got the last laugh on Tim Donst because wasn't he like selling furniture during Ashes?
Oh,
he was a
no,
furniture
no,
salesman?
it was the match was a lucha de apuesta.
Okay.
Oh,
which means
okay,
it-
yeah,
Okay.
which hair, it's hair versus hair.
right.
And
Yeah.
at the time I had like really, really long hair. And the year before, like 1 year to the day, Hallowicked had beaten Tim Donst and shaved his head. So it
Okay.
was like also part of 1 year to the day. So, so I didn't just beat Donst, I shaved his head.
Yes.
Awesome.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
So, all right. As a musician, now let's take as a musician and as a ring announcer. Have you had a moment in both of those lives where it was like the pinch me moment, like I can't believe I'm really doing this?
Yeah, I mean a lot of them. A lot of them. Yeah. I mean,
right.
almost all the time.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Almost all the
Hey,
time.
listen.
I would go out there and I would just be like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like,
Mhm.
especially when it was like a, giant crowd, like when we would do a WrestleMania weekend,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I would just be like, I can't believe I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm part of this weekend.
Right.
Yeah.
I can't believe I'm on iPay-per-view and people are watching this
Yeah.
in other countries. I can't believe I'm standing next to Jushin Thunder Liger.
Right.
Oh,
I
that's
can't believe
good.
Manami.
Right.
I can't believe I had a cigarette with Manami Toyota.
Yeah.
I can't believe,
Yeah.
I can't
That's
believe,
awesome.
you know what I mean? I can't believe,
Yeah.
I can't believe I have Tito Santana's phone number.
Right. Right.
Yeah, crazy stuff like that.
It's
huh?
crazy
Right.
stuff. Like I can't believe I'm waiting in line for the bathroom with the Barbarian.
Right.
Did
none
you-
of this seemed real to me. And I also like getting to play songs before the show. Like that was
Mhm.
something that I brought to the table.
Right.
I was doing that in Kaiju also.
Mhm.
Was like I wanted to bring my own thing, bring my own gimmick
Sure.
to
Yeah.
Chikara.
Yeah.
And before the show started, like I don't know if you guys know anything about Chikara shows, but they started kind of late.
He does.
I
Maybe
know
does.
all
Sorry.
that.
I don't know how many times the Chikara show started on time, but I'm pretty sure you can count on one hand.
I stood outside the Wrestle Factory in a practically what was a tornado, and they would not let us in the building. They were
No.
arguing about letting people in.
That wasn't a
because-
tornado. That was a time
Oh, no.
vortex.
That was a time vortex.
Is that? Oh yeah.
No, that is.
Well, listen. When I have Archibald Peck on here, I'll talk to him about time vortexes.
Yeah.
We'll
Well,
have that discussion.
yeah. So anyway, so I knew that like they would always need somebody to stall for time, and
Yeah.
and I love writing songs. So that was like, this
Mhm.
is what I do. Let me lend this talent. We'll see if they crap on it.
Yeah.
And they did, and to everyone's credit, like they pretty much were pretty receptive to all the songs that I brought to the table. They
Right.
they would like it when I would spoof another song but make it
Yeah.
about
Mhm.
Takara, and people would get a kick out of it. Except in Canada.
Here we go.
God.
Canada, they didn't
Here we
like
go
it.
again.
They did not want music and their wrestling together in Canada. They liked them
No.
separate.
Oh, Canadian fans.
Yeah, that was the only time. That was, but like, yeah, pinch me moment. I mean,
No, I'm
they
sure.
were all
it would.
pretty. Yeah, I mean, it was like.
Did
just
you have
all
a
of it.
favorite? Did you have a favorite venue that Chikara ran?
Well, performing in the ECW arena was a bucket list for me.
Nice.
And that's how Chikara and Kaiju started together. Was Kaiju was in King of Trios. We had a trio of monsters that
Mhm.
would take part in King of Trios.
Yeah.
And that's how I got my foot in the door. So that was what I was like, oh my God, we're gonna perform in the ECW arena. Like,
Right.
oh my gosh, that's where Tommy Dreamer got pushed off the balcony. You know, like that's where that happened.
Right,
And that's
right.
oh my god, and that's where that thing happened. And I'm sure God knows what Raven did in that bathroom, but I don't.
Right.
You know, I'm definitely gonna
Right.
not sit on the toilet seat. So, you know, and as the ECW arena was like, right, like how many times did I watch that to actually be in it, be in the arena, be backstage? To this day, I know I shouldn't have done this because you probably shouldn't take things, but there was like, you know, like in the rigging, like of everything that was like, there was like a carabiner, and I took it because I wanted it.
Thief.
I use it as my keychain. It's on my keychain. I keep my keys on it because I want a piece of the ECW arena wherever I go. It meant so much to me, and it meant so much. It just felt like home. Like that was my Sunday morning home. You know, I would wake up on someone's couch. We go to Wawa, and then we go to the arena and we brush our teeth, get ready to try to shake off our hangover,
right?
And do a show. And that was Sunday.
That's awesome.
But my favorite place to perform, Chicago is the Logan Square Arena in Chicago.
You go.
And when Chikara was one of the first places, like now they do wrestling there all the time, but Chikara was one of the first places to open that up, to open that venue up to wrestling.
Right.
And the first time we went to Chicago, actually every time we went to Chicago, like, man, I'd never experienced that before. They just, it was like being in wrestling heaven. They loved everything. And then that's when we introduced, I don't know if you guys remember the second encore. Chikara introduced it. We started doing an encore, right?
Yeah, because the people just weren't leaving, and they were cheering for more and more. There was like the surprise second encore.
So we would do they would do an encore, and then we would do a surprise second encore. And in Chicago, that's where it was born. They loved it, and it was just amazing. It was just like, I just remember doing it, and they would scream one more match. And this is one of the things I kind of learned to do was, you know, I would be like, you know, guys, it's getting kind of late. The venue has a curfew, you know. I really wish we could be here all night, but unfortunately for us, the following is a tag team match, you know, and then boom,
every time
and Los Ice Creams would come through, and like Los Ice Creams were like the perfect team to walk through that curtain. There's nobody else they'd rather see. They would explode, and it was moments like that just you can only have in wrestling.
You know, the Funplex was the Funplex is a memory in and of itself, but I think if you really want to talk about like the history of Chikara and just iconic venues, you have Logan Square and you have Hellertown are just two, because that's the
if you want
what you see.
If you want the surreal moment, it was Hellertown, because the first time I did a Chikara show was the first time I actually did my own the first time I was allowed to be the ring announcer from on my own. They were kind of testing me out. Was in Hellertown.
Yeah.
And I just remember walking through that curtain, that like little like high school, like, you know, theater.
It's like a high school stage.
High school theater stage. And I'd like walk through the curtain, and I walk out, and like it was like dead silence. Like it was like a library. You know, you're just like walking through, you could hear my footsteps. You can hear someone yells, "Bad hair day, huh?" Like, like, bad hair day. So as I walked to the ring holding an acoustic guitar, and I just remember thinking to myself, I was like, am I dreaming? Like, am I dreaming? Am I really doing this? Am I really walking into a wrestling show and just I'm gonna do this? Like it was it was almost like out of body. You know, it was like an out of body thing. And then I watched Eddie Kingston beat the crap out of Shane Storm. And that changed everything. Like,
Right.
I mean, when I watched that, I was just like that was like, because everything was like Chikara was like, and it's kind of like, they had the crazy gimmicks and stuff. But then once I saw the way Eddie Kingston was just hammering Shane Storm.
Oh yeah.
Beating him so hard that like the fluff was coming off of his mask, beating the fluff off of him. Like the mask was, his blood was coming through his nose, and the blood was coming onto the mask, and just backfisting him. And I was just like, what is this? Like, are these guys going to be friends after this? Like, what's going on? And that moment right there was also kind of surreal for me. I was just like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Yeah.
And it's also the night that Eddie Kingston became my favorite wrestler.
Yeah.
It's such a credit to his talent, what he was able to do in Chikara, and yet still be Eddie Kingston, but somehow be Eddie Kingston in Chikara.
No one else can do it.
It's incredible.
No one else can do what he did. He's his own thing. He was like our Stone Cold,
Yeah,
absolutely. All right. Well, this hour went by really quickly.
Real quick.
It was it was quite an enjoyable time.
Yes.
So we're glad that we were able to finally get you on here and chop it up a little bit and find out a little bit more about Jack the Announcer,
aka Loud Noxious, aka Gavin Loudspeaker.
Yeah.
AKA Young, Loud, Noxious.
So you got, do you have anything coming up you want to let people know about?
I've got some shows coming up in Baltimore. They are going to be down the road in March and in May. So, and there's probably gonna be more to that. So, just if you could go over, I mean, honestly, if you just go over to Spotify and give me a Mara a stream, if you could, that is the biggest thing you could do for me. If you could listen to my song,
awesome.
go to listen to
Spotify,
go listen to my song,
songs
on Spotify, Mia Mara. If you want to go down to my YouTube channel, if you want to subscribe to my YouTube channel, that would be amazing as well. I always love that because I don't just post my music on my YouTube channel.
Right.
I also talk about creativity and what I like to call creative self-empowerment, because I'm big into creativity, and I want to help people. This is the other thing I want to do is I want to help people tap into their creativity and do what they want to do. I want to help people. Like, if you are thinking about starting a podcast, if you're thinking about writing music, if you're thinking about painting, acting, whatever it is you're sculpting, whatever it is you want to do, I want to help people bring that out of them, because there are tools that can help you do that. And I've been studying a book called The Artist's Way with Julia Cameron. It's all about creativity, spirituality, and self-empowerment. And I am more than happy to help people do that, because that's what I want. I want people to get to experience what I did. I want them to have their own out-of-body experience. I want them to have their moment where they're like, I can't believe I'm doing this.
Yeah.
I want everyone to experience that.
Yeah, that's great. So we'll have the links to find you all over the place down in the description. And it's been great to get to know a little bit more about you. Before we go, I got to show off one thing.
Oh geez. Here we go.
What's going to happen now?
Here we go.
This is my vinyl copy of the wrestling album.
Hey, that's awesome. That's awesome. I love that.
I saw it out of the corner of my eye.
I love vinyl. I love vinyl.
I love vinyl.
Oh man, I listened to that thing so hard back in the day. Like, I wore many a needle out on that record. All right.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the commentary is in between
yes, the commentary is so spot on.
I mean, I have it memorized. Like, I listened to it so many times. I have it memorized. I can recite it to you word for word.
Very cool.
And then sing the song.
That's awesome.
Love it.
All right, so guys, make sure you follow everything that Jack is doing. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Make sure you check out Mia Mara, give them a listen. Are you doing anything WrestleMania week? You gonna be around at all?
I don't have any plans.
There's a certain birthday party you might want to go to.
Yeah,
I saw that. I saw that
Yeah.
Champion is
Yeah.
having a big birthday party.
Yep.
We are doing the official pre and post shows on YouTube for both nights of Labor of Love, and we will
Yep.
also be at the birthday party. So that's a
Wow.
bonus.
Okay.
You get to hang out with us too.
I'm gonna try to
Yeah.
head up there.
Awesome.
It's not, I try to get out of Baltimore when I can,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm not that far. I'm certainly not that far away.
No.
But we'll see what happens.
All
But
right.
yeah,
Sounds good.
it's going to be a fun weekend
Yeah.
nonetheless. And also it's for a really good cause. The birthday.
Yeah, it
party.
is.
It's
It
for a
is.
really
Yeah, it
good
is.
It is a very
Everyone's
good
gonna go
cause.
and
So
help it out a lot.
Mhm.
yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us, and
Thank
of
you,
course,
thank you.
Thank you guys.
our-
Thank you guys for having me. I
yeah,
appreciate it.
absolutely. And to our listeners, our watchers, and Patreon members out there, we thank you for your support. You guys are seeing this 5 days early before it comes out on
Yes,
YouTube.
yes.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, please head over to our Patreon, subscribe. We got a bunch of cool stuff for you over there, and you get
Yep.
this 5 days early. But
Mhm.
again, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time.
Peace out.
Hey, this is ABJ of the ABJ Podcast, and you're listening to the Opinion City Wrestling with Live series exclusively on Patreon. Enjoy.
Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. Good night, sweetheart. Well, it's time to go. I hate to leave you, but I really must say, oh, good night, sweetheart. Good night.
Okay, thanks for watching this presentation. Like, share, and subscribe for more.